if you want to start adding shoes to your reselling inventory, or if you want to start selling shoes exclusively like I've been doing for the past few years, there are two things I highly recommend you do. The first one is to be very picky with the condition of the shoes you do pick up, and that is because that's going to help you with number two, which is to try to spend as little time as possible prepping and cleaning your shoes, because the faster you can process your inventory, the more time you will have to focus on the other reselling tasks that you need to do to sustain your business. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about those two things in detail. In the first part, I want to share the rating system I've come up with to help me decide whether to pick up shoes or not based on condition when I'm outsourcing. The second part, I want to talk about all of the cleaning supplies I use to prep my shoes, because no matter how good of a condition a shoe is in, they all still need a little bit of prepping. So I'm going to share the things I use to get them looking in the best shape possible in as little time as possible. When I started reselling shoes years ago, one of my main goals was always to pick up shoes that weren't too dirty and that did not need a lot of prep to get them ready to be photographed. As the years have gone on, I have gotten more and more strict with that rule. When a pair of shoes catches my eye at the thrift store, one of the first things I do is assess the condition as thoroughly as I can. And I like to think of it as if it were a project. So I literally ask that question to myself in my head: how big of a project is this? And I rate it from a 1 to a 10. A 1 to a 3 means that the shoes are in very good condition. All they need is a quick wipe and maybe some brown packing paper stuffed inside to give them some shape, and that is it. Shoes that are a 1 to a 3 normally take me 2 to 3 minutes to prep, and as long as those shoes meet other criteria from my sourcing checklist, I go ahead and pick them up. Shoes that are anywhere from 4 to a 6 will need a little bit more work. Maybe they're going to need some polishing with some leather balsam. They will need a little bit of a scrub on the bottom soles, some snips with some scissors here and there to take off any loose threads. And these shoes could also have a little flaw. Shoes that are a 4 to a 6 will take me 4 to 5 minutes to get them prepped, and I still do pick up these shoes as long as the price is right and it has other unique qualities that will get it sold. Shoes that are anywhere from a 7 to a 10 are going to need a lot of work to get them ready. They're going to need a deep scrub in the sink with soap and water. Maybe I will have to take it to the shoe repair guy to fix something on it. If they're white shoes, maybe I have to stain treat it and throw it in the wash. Shoes in this condition are going to take a lot longer to get prepped, anywhere from 6 to 10 minutes, but it could be even longer because sometimes I just leave them in the corner of my inventory room for weeks and weeks. The shoe repair shop is like 3 minutes away from my home, and I still always put it off. So I really try to avoid any shoes that need this amount of prepping because I know that I will never get to it. I'll just keep putting it off. So that's a quick overview of the rating system that I use. The idea here is to pick up mostly shoes that are already in good condition, and all you have to do is some quick prep work to enhance that good condition and get them ready to be photographed quickly. Now let's move on to the supplies. The first set of products aren't necessarily cleaning supplies, but they are things you're going to need to make this process a lot easier. The first thing being a trash can, or if you're like me, an old box lined with a trash bag. That is what I use to throw my tags, zip ties, and all the things thrift stores use to keep shoes together. But I will also use this trash can as a guard. When I'm spraying oil-based products or any cleaning products on a towel, I like to do it while holding the towel inside the trash can, just so that it doesn't spray on other shoes. I have sprayed oil-based products before and accidentally got it on suede shoes, and then it didn't come off. I had to list them as flawed, so be very careful with that. Have something to use as a guard as you're spraying products. Next thing you may need are some scissors. I like to buy these in packs on Amazon, and I use these again to cut off tags, ties, any loose strings that are on the shoes. Another thing you will definitely need are some sort of cleaning rags. I like to buy these colorful ones just so I can distinguish which one is a dry towel for wiping down anything that's overly wet, and the other one to use to spray on the cleaning products and scrub down shoes. This is something you will need a lot of, and that is brushes. I have several in different colors and sizes here because I use them for different things. The small one here I use to get in between small crevices under shoes when I need to do some cleaning there. This one here I like to keep to use for any soil that's at the bottom of shoes or any rocks. It's more stiff, so that's why I like to use it for that. When I have to do some more heavy duty scrubbing, I like to use this one here. And then I have these black ones that I use just to finish off shoes, whether it's nubuck leather shoes or suede shoes. This is what I use. For suede shoes too, I like to use this eraser. If there are any little marks or scuffs on suede shoes, you can just go over it with this eraser, finish it off with this brush, and it will look a little bit better. Next thing you're going to need are some sort of picks and some scrapers, and this is to take off rocks and debris from the bottom of shoes. I used to use the shoe picks that come with some work shoes. I used to order shoes for cruise shoes when I worked at IHOP, and those came with those picks, so I had a lot of them left over. That was what I was using for a while. Eventually I ran out of those, and then I started using a nail filer. Right now I'm just using this. So you can really use whatever you have at home that you don't need anymore and use that as a shoe pick to clean the bottom of shoes. They do sell professional kits on Amazon that have a lot of sizes and different shapes, but I haven't bought any of those yet. I'm just using whatever I can find anytime I need something new. This here I did buy on Amazon though. It is like a scraper that I use to take off stickers that are on the bottom of shoes. Next up is a lint roller. I mostly use this during the winter with the boots, the long knee-high boots. I like to unzip them all the way down and always make sure there's no pet hair or lint all over that. But sometimes this can be useful for suede shoes. If you just run it over the upper of shoes, it will take off any lint or any debris that may be there. Something that I use the most of in my shoe cleaning supplies are disinfecting wipes, and I use this brand, Great Value brand, because it's the one I like the most. I have tried Amazon Basics brand, and I've also tried the Lysol brand disinfecting wipes, and those leave behind too much lint and they aren't as heavy duty, surprisingly. That is why I buy these. I buy them in packs of 3 in these jumbo sizes on the Walmart website, and one sheet of these can go a very long way. I use it over and over until it has no more to give. And another thing about these is that when you get about here, about the middle of the pack, they are going to be soaking wet. It's going to leave your shoes way too wet. So I will squeeze out all of the excess liquid, and once I'm done using the whole pack, there is going to be a bunch of liquid left over. So then what I do to make this product last even more and go even further for me is I will pour it into a spray bottle. It's an empty spray bottle that I also got on the Walmart website, and then I will use that cleaning solution for other things. Most of the time all of those things will do the trick and the shoe will be ready to go, but there are times that the shoes will need a little bit of extra treatment, and that is when I will move on to these next set of products that I'm about to show you. Starting off with this right here, it is a sweater shaver. This is used to take off any peeling that may be on the shoes on the inside lining. Sometimes you'll see kind of like fur balls that are stuck around. I like to go over it with this right here just to make it look nice and smooth. Sometimes also with sneakers or espadrille shoes, you will have some loose threads coming out of the shoe, and this will also help with that. Next product is Mr. Clean's Magic Eraser, or you can use the generic brands that they sell on Amazon. Those work just fine too. Those you will use to get the whites of midsoles looking very clean. It will brighten it up and remove any sort of stains or scuffing that may be around that area. Also, sometimes at the top of shoes, like with Converse, they have a cap toe that is white. I will use that to make it look better. All you have to do with these is wet them a little bit. You can use water or you can use any cleaning solution. I like to use the excess solution, as I talked about earlier, that I get from the disinfecting wipes. I would just spray the magic eraser with this, get it soaking wet on one of the corners. And with these, you just want to make sure that you're not pressing too hard because they will start to fall apart on you. You just have to go over it very smoothly a few times to gently get the stains off and to brighten up those midsoles. And this right here is called Goo Gone. It is a spray gel and it's supposed to be an adhesive remover. Most of the thrift stores that I go to around here have switched over to pricing their items with tags that I can just cut off with scissors, or stickers that are very easy to remove, but some of them are still writing their prices at the bottom of shoes with some sort of marker. So when that is the case, I use this and that will usually get it right off. A lot of the fashion shoes that I buy, like the pumps, loafers, and flats, will have a tan colored bottom sole, and those tend to get very dirty and start to look very dark. When they're too dark, I go ahead and leave them behind, but when there's just a little bit of darkening around the edges, I go ahead and bring them home because I know that I can get them very clean with this Goo Gone. All I have to do is spray a little bit of this on a corner of a towel, and then with some pressure I will go over the bottom sole, and then at the end I will finish it off with a disinfecting wipe, again applying a little bit of pressure, and doing those two things usually gets the shoes looking very nice. When the Goo Gone does not work to remove prices at the bottom of shoes, then I will move on to using this, a nail polish remover, and some Q-tips. And even after using this, sometimes the price is still there. It may just make it a little bit faded, but you'll still be able to see it. When that happens, I just leave it alone and go ahead and list them that way. But other things that I've heard other people try are sandpaper. You can sand down the price so that you can't see it. You can also try WD-40. I've heard people say olive oil, and when none of that works, you can always just right over it with another Sharpie so that at least you can't see the price. Other things that the nail polish remover will work great for are smudges on patent leather shoes. Sometimes I buy hunter boots that have like a white foggy film to them. I don't know how to explain it, but just anything that's rubber or patent leather. Oftentimes you can use this to remove any spots. Just make sure to test it on an area that you can't see that much first to make sure it's not going to damage the shoe. But I've never had that happen. I always use this on patent leather stuff. As a last extra treatment, sometimes I will use this right here. It is Doc Martens Wonder Balsam, and it is basically a leather polisher. I've been reselling for about 6 years now, and this is the only one I've ever bought, and there's still a little bit in there. It is going to be about time for me to buy another one, but I think I can still use this for several months. That just goes to show that, for one, I only use this when a shoe really needs it, and two, a little bit of this goes a very long way. It does come with this circular pad right here, so I'll just put this inside the container and scoop out a tiny bit of product, and then I will go over the scuff that are on leather shoes and just go around in circular motions very gently. That usually either fades any scuffs or it removes them completely if the scuff is not that bad. Another thing I use a lot of for shoes is brown packing paper. I buy this in a bulk pack that comes with more than 700 sheets in the box, but I will cut it in half because it is pretty long. So I end up getting over 1,400 sheets of this brown paper per pack, and it does last me several months. And I use this to give shoes shape. Sometimes sneakers or loafers can be sunken down from being stored at the thrift store for so long, or sometimes I will even bring shoes home and have them in the trash bags for a very long time before I get to them. So that is what I use this for. Also, some sandals have a lot of straps going on. They have intricate designs, and I like to use this to give them some shape. I would just ball up the paper, put it in there, leave it there for a while so that they maintain their shape once I go to take pictures. When I do take pictures, I remove the paper if you can see it. If you can't see the paper because it's more towards the toe box, I go ahead and leave it there just so that they continue to stay in good shape once I store them. As I mentioned, mentioned earlier, I try to be as thorough as possible when I'm checking for condition, but there are times that I still miss things. I bring them home, and then once they're under the lights, I start to see some flaws that I didn't notice before. Or maybe sometimes I bring home shoes and I think I can fix a flaw, but I can't. So that is when I like to use these things right here. There are red sticker arrows. I used to use the round colorful stickers, and I would use that to point out flaws on the shoes, but I didn't like that method because, for one, they would fall off sometimes because they weren't that sticky, and two, I would still have to show my kids when they were taking pictures where the flaw is because it wasn't pointing directly at it. With these stickers, I can point directly to the flaw so they know exactly where it is. They take the pictures with the arrow on there. That way I know where the flaw is when I'm listing, and I don't forget to talk about it in the description. The customer will also know where the flaw is because the arrow is pointing directly at it. In the past, I had to edit in arrows and explain where the flaw is in the pictures, so now I don't have to waste time doing that when I'm listing anymore. One bad thing about these arrows though is that they are too sticky. The round ones weren't sticky enough, and these are way too sticky, so sometimes they can cause damage, especially on faux leather shoes. It can make them look worse than they were in the first place. So what I started doing was putting it on the back of my hand and removing some of the stickiness first before putting it on the flawed shoe. That helps a little bit, but I still have to be extra careful when I'm using these. So that is mostly all I use to get my shoes prepped and ready to be listed, but there are two more things that I have on hand just in case, but I try not to ever have to use these. One is this MGK shoe cleaner. All you have to do is add a few drops to the brush, run it under some water, and then scrub down your shoes. So any tennis shoes that you have or any shoes that are very dirty at the bottom, you can use this to clean them. I like to start from the top and work my way to the bottom, and when you're done, all you have to do is wipe it down with a dry towel. You don't even have to worry about rinsing it off. This I like to use more for personal use for my own shoes, but when I need to, I will go ahead and use it for thrifted shoes too. This is basically the same thing, but it is more for leather shoes. It is by the brand Kiwi, and it is a saddle soap, and it says it removes dirt and grime on all leather types. I used to use this a lot for Western boots, but again, I've gotten more picky with the condition, so if a Western boot is going to need this, I try not to get it unless it is really, really worth it. And this you would use very similar to the shoe cleaner. You will get a brush, you will open this thing up. This is what it looks like. Then you would just scrape off some of the product, run it under some water, and scrub down the boots from top to bottom. And this you do have to rinse off. So what I would do is wet a towel and get it very damp to get off the product. You will have to let your shoes dry overnight. Once they're all dry, you can finish them off with the leather balsam, and that should improve the condition a lot. Let's go over a few shoe cleaning examples so you can see the products in action. This first pair of shoes is already in excellent condition. It's like a 1 on that condition scale. All I did was take a disinfecting wipe, clean the inside and the outside. I used some brown packing paper to give the toe box some shape, and these are ready to go. These Torrid sneakers were also in excellent condition already. I just wiped them down, and then I used that same wipe to scrub the midsole a bit. If the stains were more stubborn, then I would have used a magic eraser. But in this case, the wipe worked just fine. For the laces on sneakers, I like to tie them in a knot and stuff them behind the tongue to make them look extra neat for pictures. Then I did the exact same thing to the other shoe. As I said, these shoes were already in great condition, so I could have listed them as is. And lots of people do that, and they still make sales and have successful shoe reselling businesses. That's not my way of doing things though. I like to go the extra mile when I can. Next, we have some loafers. These were a bit dirty on the bottom. So here I'm scrubbing them with some Goo Gone on a gray towel. Anytime I use Goo Gone, I will go in with a wet wipe right after to get rid of any oily residue it leaves behind. You do have to be very careful with Goo Gone because it is oil-based. It can stain some materials. I use it only on bottom soles, and I constantly wipe my gloves with a fresh wipe to make sure I don't accidentally transfer some of that Goo Gone to the upper suede part. After drying the soles with a towel, I used some packing paper to give these loafers shape, and then I used a dry clean brush on top. Sometimes these type of shoes can look like they have flaws or stains when really it's just the way the suede is laying. That's why I like to finish off suede shoes by brushing the uppers all in one direction. These men's Morel shoes were a quick cleanup too. I just cut some loose threads and used some disinfecting wipes all over. And here I'm adjusting the laces so they go from the outside in. This is going to make it easier to tie and stuff the laces behind the tongue later. I also went in with the lint roller on the suede to remove some lint. I used some brown packing paper on the toe box, and that was it for these. That is exactly what I shoot for when I'm sourcing. Excellent condition shoes that take 1 to 2 minutes to prep. Here's some men's athletic shoes that again were in good condition, and I could have listed them as is, but instead I took the time to make them look excellent by brightening up the bottom soles. First, I sprayed the soles with some cleaning solution and scrubbed them down, making sure not to get the mesh upper wet, which it wouldn't be a problem if I did get them wet. I would just need to make sure to let them dry before taking pictures and storing them in my inventory. Next, I wet a magic eraser with that same cleaning solution and gently scrub the sole and the midsole with it. To get rid of the debris that came off of the sole from the previous 2 steps, here I'm using a wet wipe, applying a little bit of pressure to get it a bit sudsy. Lastly, I used a clean towel to dry everything off. And here is a before and after comparison. These shoes were probably okay to list as is to begin with, but by taking these extra steps, I feel more confident describing shoes as great or excellent condition in my descriptions. I feel like customers notice this too because I've received lots of reviews that say the shoes were like new or way better than expected. I like happy customers, so that makes it worthwhile to me. These shoes did not need a sweater shaver treatment at all. Here I'm just demonstrating how I would use it if I needed to. On the heel is where you'll sometimes see some fuzz or peeling. That's what the sweater shaver is for. This next pair of shoes needed more work than all of the others. They were more like a 5 on the condition scale, but I was able to get them down to at least a 2. I started off by removing the insoles and using a lint roller to remove some pet hair. I used that lint roller inside the shoes too. These Crocs were slip resistant work shoes. Those usually have detailed grooves on the bottom and they tend to have a lot of dirt stuck there. First, I used a pick to loosen up all of that debris. Then I used my cleaning solution to spray them down real good. Here I'm scrubbing those soles using a hard bristle brush. Then I went in with a smaller detail brush to scrub in between all those narrow crevices and make sure all the dirt got off. Lastly, I dried them with a clean towel. Here's a before and after. After cleaning the other shoe, I put the soles back in and these were ready to go. If you want to learn more about sourcing shoes to resell, I'm going to leave a video right here for you. It is a very long thrift haul that I recorded recently. In that video, I share more about how I decide what shoes to pick up based on styles and brands. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one.